without much further ado, let me introduce the next session that we're going to have. I'm pleased to announce that our next set of guests to you all, we have Mr. Kennedy Odede, co-founder and CEO of Shofco, in conversation with Nalini Shekhar, co-founder of Hasiru Dala. Nalini Shekhar is an Indian social activist and entrepreneur who co-founded Hasiru Dala, Green Force, a non-profit helping marginalized waste pickers in Bangalore. It has become recognized for their work and developing a more sustainable waste management system in the city. In the past, Ms. Shekhar worked extensively on the issue of violence against women and children in the United States. Ms. Nalini returned to Bangalore in 2010, intending to retire actually, but a growing garbage issue and her knowledge of the skills of the waste pickers led her to found Hasiru Dala. Thanks, Nalini, for joining us. Over to you, Nalini.
Thank you. I'd like to take a minute and introduce Kennedy Odede. He's a co-founder and CEO of the organization called Shining Hope of Community. He's a New York Times bestseller author, and he has made it to Forbes 30 under 30. However, when you hear about his growing up and what he has done to his community, he's far more than bestseller book celebrity. He grew up in one of the biggest slums in the world, Kibera in Kenya. At a young age, he organized people of his community to take charge of the situation and be the change they want to see. Shining Hope of Communities is the largest grassroots organization in Kenya, reaching 1.5 million people in 14 urban slums of Kenya and beyond. I'm sure if you Google, you'll get a lot of information about him because I'm very selfish. I want to have complete half an hour of his time talking to me. So without much, ado, I would like to welcome Kennedy.
Thank you so much.
It's a privilege to have a dialogue with you on this Independence Day. Welcome. So I want to deep dive, into the issues and asking you few questions. Why should people organize themselves? And that's how you started.
Yes.
So why should people organize themselves to get answers for their own challenges and come up with solutions?
Thanks so much. First of all, you are an amazing person. I heard about you, I read about you, and your inspiration. Thank you so much. And I'm happy to talk to you. So I think that as somebody, Kennedy Odede, I grew up in a slum, in informal settlement where life was hard. I ate from the garbage. I became a homeless kid. And you realize that sometimes if you don't organize yourself, you will be doing other people's agenda. What I love about organizing is that it's your agenda, community agenda, neighborhoods agenda. Otherwise, those in power will come in with their own agenda, which most of the time is a selfish agenda. So I see organizing as a way for people to say that I want to be on the table. This is what we want. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think if you know what is your agenda for your own self, that's nothing like that. So how do you go about actually strategizing? For example, the solution you brought about water pipes in the air. You know, it sounds like a very simple solution today, but nobody thought about it before, right? And even in India, we always have it in the ground. So, but you came up with this solution. How do you come up with the solution? How do you convince your community to take part? Because it's more expensive than putting it on the land, right?
That's true. So what happened is that you have to identify the problem. So the pipes in the slum in Kenya here, they are plastic. And when you go on the sewage, they burst, water get in. So our family, our children are all getting waterborne disease. And then we start asking ourselves, what is the solution? So we organize what's called organizing again. Organizing also doesn't mean only to organize against the government. Organizing again means that people coming together, yes, for solution that they might even have, you know? So when we organize ourselves, we start having community town halls. Like, what do we do about this? And the idea came from one of the women. Like, what about app? I'm like, wow. So anyway, so it became a very interesting idea, and I realized that it used to be done during the Roman Empire many years ago, where water used to go above, and it's really helping a lot because on that water we become what's called innovative. There is solar, you can charge your phone. We have a kiosk whereby you can also buy something, and the way we do it is that each kiosk have community that owns it. So they can take care of it. So we have seen the reduction of waterborne disease in our area, and we have been so lucky to have CDC come to do research on it. Yes.
And also your whole strategy is around building community center. Many things happen out of that community center. How do you go about doing that? Who is in charge of this community center? How do you build it? And your whole education system that you have built for children, girls, children especially. What does this community center is like? I feel it's a nerve center, but I want to hear from you. What is this community center?
Yes, so
people?
Perfect. So what we do is that, we came up with the idea of starting SHOFCO, Shining of a Community, as you said. And then I realized that many people are doing the struggle. Everybody's trying to solve something. People who are doing garbage collection, those who are doing carpentry, women who are selling fruits and vegetables, So we came with this idea of a network that can bring all these people together in a slum and be like, I'm here for you. Ubuntu is an African word, sort of, which means that you exist because of I. We are all connected, So what happened is that, so we are able to start each group. If you are, let's say you are a garbage collection group, you will send your representative to the committee. So each group send their own people. And then we realize that, okay, we have to divide the slum into zones. So this zone will have an office, which is not even an office. I call it more like a center that they can, just simple structure that they can meet. Something is called having a roof over their head so that they can be able to organize themselves. So we have a couple of centers in the slum. So for me, I think it's good to have a place that you can all come together to share your ideas. But of course, we also have schools in the women's schools. And the idea of school is that I believe that when you're a poor person, you shouldn't be treating people badly because the system is already messing up with you. So we came with the idea that we can't be the last in the caste, whereby we have no good schools, we have no good future. And then at the same time, we end up abusing women. Then we are stupid. We are so stupid. So for us to be powerful is that we don't allow anything injustice in our community. So number one thing was to work with women to fight gender-based violence. That's how idea came up, like, okay, we want our girls to be the future ministers, to be the future presidents, to be the future leaders. So we have to build a Harvard, our own Harvard in the middle of the slum. So that's how we have a girls' school in the slum, which even now, it's doing so well in Kenya that people really admire those kind of schools. So number one thing about organizing is that you should be the same. You should, as a community, you should fight any injustice to prove that you are united, so that you can fight for a bigger picture.
Thank you. So when you're working here and you're providing health services, water and sanitation, toilets, children's education, and many more things, and livelihood issues. So when you look at that, what is the role of the government? I mean, we also want to understand where the government comes and where the philanthropic money should come or social entrepreneurs should enter. How do you look at the government, obligation and our support? What should be the kind of a balance between the two?
Yes, that's a very good question. So I feel like the government role is to take care of the citizen. And I think the NGO sector, the civil society, they're just filling a small gap. And we should be there for forever. The agenda is to give the government the pressure, okay? So the government can come in. So if there's no schools in a slum or in a community in India or wherever it is, okay? I think they should organize themselves, and look at the people in the government who can come in now, because the government is a machinery.
Mm.
So what we are doing is that I think the government should take a huge stake on it. You know what I mean? So the NGOs, we also be careful. I'm sorry. We don't want people to be over dependent.
Yeah.
Because at the long last, you are going to vote. Why are you voting then? Okay? Okay? So our agenda is that, whatever we are doing, even me now, it's geared towards the government. So we should be, as a non-profit, and I love Nalini, what you have done. Look at over 500 people got jobs. I'm so impressed. That's powerful. That becomes sustainable. And I saw the government really in your area came in. You see that? So for me, that's called now sustainability. When you started, there was no government.
Yeah.
But when you prove the government, it can happen. Look, and then they come in. So that I think should be the role of NGO, is to start something to prove the concept.
Yeah, just to demonstrate that it is doable and scalable, and then the government should take it. Yeah, even I believe it. And one of the things in our work, what we have seen, public housing is a very important part to bring in sustainability for livelihoods, bring in sustainability to living, and also education for children. These are the two things in our work we have found. It's a very, very important thing for us to make a huge leap of change in their livelihoods and living style. So what do you think? Have you seen this, or is it different in Kenya?
Say again, I didn't get you clearly on that.
So there are two things we feel in India very important is public housing. Housing given by the government, good housing, affordable housing. And the second thing is education for children. These are the two things we feel is very important to bring in change. What do you think in your experience? What are the things that brings change?
I will say that I will tie back to what is called the land title. That's the problem.
Yes, land title.
So, yes. I think that, so in Kenya, I have to be careful, but I have to be honest at the same time. People came in, poor people, we want to build you housing. They build big houses. There was no running water. They couldn't afford it. So what happened? They left. And then there was no enough planning, because right now, if I tell you the truth, what the world is facing is the lower middle class housing crisis. Before you go to the poor, before you go to slums. So what I'm advocating for is that, yes, public housing is important, but should not be misused.
Yes.
Community can come together with the designing that can be developed by the government and the private sector. Because when the government just come with a big tractor, boom, 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 and we want a place for playground, my dear.
Yes.
We want a place for my neighbor. I want a place to barber shop. You know what I mean? So we know. So I advise the government, those who are listening, go to what is called community participation. What do you want in house? Yes, in planning. What kind of houses? How much can you afford to pay? My dear, if we don't do this, we end up building houses, kicking out the poor people, and then lower middle class coming in. I have seen that happen in Kenya. But I believe that housing is dignity. Housing is dignity. And education is the future. A woman who is educated, education is the only thing that will make somebody who was looked down as a lower caste. Through education, they can fight that system. Through education, they can have a dream. Through education, they have that courage. So if you want to change the world, if you want to change the slums and everywhere in the world, if we focus on public housing that are owned by the community and education, which I call it the real education, we will fight poverty. So I'm with you.
Thank you. So I think we have a similar experience.
Yes.
And what about you just mentioned the private sector. From morning we had discussion on the civil businesses and civil society and government as one unit. I also want to look at how do you link this? Is there a global solidarity required for this, or it has to be domestic? How do you look at bringing change in a country with all the players together? Does it work? Does it not work? Or work in certain areas?
Yes, I think that the government has to agree that what is the role of the civil society? What is the role of NGO? If the government that's so scared of NGO and civil society is a government that is failing, because they are there to build. They are there to bring accountability. If you are a president, you want a country that there's no corruption. So you want civil society, please help me do this. You know what I mean? So they should be fighting. Another thing, NGOs also have one issue. They like to compete, but I think that's wrong. It's true. No, I get it. It's for the dollars. But,
It's true.
But think about this. If they all come together, that can be a very powerful force. Look at what you're doing in which area. How can we partner? How can we share those kind of ideas? Because if you look at the struggle, I was very impressed to read about the history of India, how they were talking to the people in America, people in South Africa, because of this, during the struggle. And that's what brought India's independence. Because there was if you come to my continent, the Africa continent, during the struggle, they were working together. Jomo Kenyatta in Kenya, Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana. There's a lot of networking. It's important to work together. And yeah, so that's I say that if we all put our heads together as organizations, and I also tell NGOs this, and civil society, we should be criticizing government all the time. We should give the government to be on the table. We need to talk to them. We can't just shout at them all the time. Look for the governor, look for your municipality, look for the person to understand your agenda. And I think most of the time, we all have the same agenda.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is the kind of global ecosystem you think is required for elevation? And also the thing is the spaces for resistance, spaces for raising voices are becoming lesser and lesser physically. So what is your response to that?
That's a good point. So during Mahatma Gandhi, people could walk together. There's a lot of spaces, the same in Kenya. But we don't have more spaces anymore. We are so blessed in this generation. We have something called social media.
I know you love it.
That's the power.
I know you love it.
That's the power. Yes, I feel like if we even organizing ourselves around social media. Oh, Nalini, look at what happened in America. When women were being abused by strong men, you saw what is called #MeToo movement, which I love. You see, it really put strong men down.
Yeah.
I have to be careful, but I saw in Egypt, the power of social media. I saw it in Sudan, the power of social media. And I see it in Kenya when the social media, the youth come together and the government's like, okay, we're going to change our idea. So I think we have a virtual space, which is called social media. So if we use it well, we can be able to put a lot of pressure and see big change.
So in Kenya, is the digital divide is big? Or do people have access to social media, access to smartphone so that they can participate? Or is it at the level of the organizing that social media can be used?
Yes. So right now in Kenya, I'll say over 50% they're either on Facebook, Twitter, something, So that gives us a chance that they can raise their voice. And the phones are now becoming much affordable. Data is becoming like oxygen. So very soon, the young people go to restaurant and they buy water. I love it. And they just start using the social media, So it's very interesting. So social media is the future. So I feel like with the rise of technology, with the rise of Wi-Fi everywhere, internet, that's going to be the next frontier.
Thank you. I just wanted to share in our organization, every year we have a celebration in June, 1,000 waste picker come together. This year we couldn't because of COVID. So we sent out messages to people, just celebrate in your own areas. And then we brought all the information and we made it a program, digital program. It was 1.5 hours program. We saw like more than 1,000 people were watching at the time. So, and these are the women who not necessarily have, all of them have, smartphone. They went, each phone, like four people to 10 people were sitting and watching together.
Wow.
So we had more than 1,000 people. I mean, in a physical sense, we would have 1,000. Here, much more than 1,000 people participated. Do you think this kind of digital media availability and then using the social media, can you just gave an example of Me Too. Can this bring about huge change in the awareness and global solidarity?
Yes, I think as I talk about Me Too movement, but now we have what is called what's happening in the racial injustice happening in America. You see what is really the black movement. You see what yes, it was very powerful. It is really it's changing policies. You know what I mean? And it's also another tool to tell each other like we are meeting in this place. You look, so it's a powerful thing. It can do two things: one, to pressure, and also, if you want physical people, they can say where they're going to meet and people go there. I've seen that happening a lot. And but let's look back again, really. You think, look at this COVID. COVID has reminded us the power of virtual. You and me now, we are talking. I'm sure I could have come to India to talk to you on a stage, you see. But it's in my house, I can talk to you. So we just need to be woken up to take the advantage. Let's take the advantage of the social media. Let's take the advantage of networking. And I look, for example, India and Africa, for example. Through social media, through technology, there's a lot we can learn from each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we need to start those kind of opportunities. So it is possible.
Great. So I also wanted to just one last discussion. I wanted to talk to you about this whole food security issue. How do you address food security in a large slum that you work with? Is there a public distribution system, especially in the COVID time when livelihood has been affected? How does because you have organized, did it help you to support people during COVID time when people didn't have livelihood? What are the other things that helped you achieve because you are organized during the COVID?
So what really happened is that, so Nairobi is a little bit far from the rural area where the food comes from, but the community organized what's called the sack. You know, you put soil and people try to plant that. That's really amazing. Vegetables, kales. Another thing we did is that we pressured the government to give people cash. Because I know women who are selling food in our community. So, but we wanted to promote our local economy. So we told the government, listen, no, people don't have job. Why can't you transfer cash, basic income to them so that they can go buy in a local kiosk? And that automatically really help, you see? So we did that. So government, thank God, government listened and they were able to give some cash on that. I mean, another thing we're able to do is that we are working with the other private sector who are bringing the food from the rural areas and then able to distribute in the slums in a very affordable way. So the organizing is to fight for your people so they get it, you know, they get fresh food at the same time in affordable price. Yes.
Even our experiences, because we had organized people, we were able to serve them better. There were a large number of migrants, for example, in a city where I live, Bangalore, we didn't even know them. So we really found if you're organized, you can service the people better. The government and the link between the government and the end user was possible. So we really feel that organizing is the key. Anyway, I have to close down. I'm getting in, kind of, we are already finished half an hour. So thank you so much, Kennedy, for having this dialogue. And there are many similarities in the situation that you are in and in India. Some different challenges and the access to resources may be different, but the dynamics looks like it is similar. I work with many children and families, which resembles your family and and your childhood. In fact, some of our people are watching these dialogues
Wow.
today. So I feel that you are a great ambassador of hope to all of us. Thank you so
Thank you.
much, and it was fantastic talking to you.
Thanks, Nalini. Thank you so much. I hope they enjoyed it. I enjoyed talking to you.
Yes.
Asante. Thank you.
Thank you. Pooja?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Ms. Nalini and Mr. Kennedy Odede for joining us today. It was a great pleasure. In fact, I was listening to it so intently. And a couple of things that really stuck with me is when Mr. Kennedy actually spoke about how NGOs need to prove a particular model and show it, demonstrate it to the government, and then partner with the government later. So that was quite insightful. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for being a part of the Nach Forum.